welcome to Screentone Club, episode 9. This is being recorded on the 27th of October 2019, and will be coming out on the 29th of October 2019, about Monday-ish, hopefully. I'm already backed up because I have a bonus episode to edit. Whoops. This is your fortnightly look at manga with a focus on joint discussion. We try and keep the show slightly tighter so it doesn't balloon into yet another podcast. As has been discussed in previous episodes, Andy is currently otherwise engaged. He is currently doing battle on the field of the Excel Centre in London as part of MCM Comic-Con. He is representing his day job there. And I think about this kind of time of recording, he's probably about 3 drinks deep, and I do not blame him one bit. So I have called in a very exciting pitch hitter, someone who I've podcasted with before, and I'm really glad to have any excuse to have back on again. Better introduce him now. It's Patz. How you doing, Patz? If you want to give you a full, proper introduction.
Yeah, sure. Hey, glad to be here. Sorry, I'm not as British as these guys, but I'll do my best to talk about manga anyway. Yeah, I'm the host of The Cockpit, which is at thecockpit.net. It's a mecha-related podcast, primarily focusing on anime, some tokusatsu stuff, some convention stuff more recently. So if you like robots, go listen to that. And you can follow that at Cockpit Pod on Twitter, and then I'm Patz Prime on Twitter.
Yeah. Definitely a pro follow if you want the Obari picture. You know, that one, that particular one. I'm not trying to put you on blast here, but did you ever record that Braves series panel you did at a convention? I remember when I went and saw that. That was real fun.
No, I kind of really want to do that again. Now that it's been a couple of years, I'm trying to bring a couple of those things back into rotation, so especially that, because there's a little bit of revival there going on, because there's like a new GaoGaiGar sequel thing coming out.
Really?
Yeah, so there's a light novel earlier this year, and then there's a manga version of it that just started. Like the first chapter ran, I think, this week or last.
Wow.
So there's like it takes place like 10 years past Final. So the two boys are both like teenagers now and fighting monsters and piloting robots and stuff. Sounds super cool. So
are they going to be even moodier? Holy cow.
I mean, probably. I hope they end up like animating that stuff too, because it would be really cool, and it's kind of the right timing to start doing something like nostalgia around that stuff. So yeah. Like, as much as I like robots, and ironically, I chose robots for this. I've been reading a ton more manga myself than kind of ever before. So I'm like always looking for excuses to talk more about manga. I'm working on doing something myself with that coming up. I was hoping it would be out by this, but it's not. So yeah, a lot of manga talk in the future.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll have to, when that comes to fruition, you'll have to hit me up and we can do some crossover thingy. I don't know. Christ.
Yeah, talk more about manga.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like, gotta justify this pile of books I got behind me. But, yeah. So we, as you may expect, we have like a mecha robot filled episode to come. One quick thing to mention, we have a Patreon, as mentioned. Thank you ever so much to everyone who has chipped in. As mentioned, it's very easily putting away our coasting bill, which is the one impediment, frankly. It's just keeping that thing running. And thanks to your votes, we now have our first bonus episode, which will have come out shortly before this does. If you want to listen to that bonus episode, you can join the Patreon from like $1 a month. And that might not seem like a lot, but it is really important. Just for like small, tiny amounts really add up very, very quickly. And it's really nice to know that people like are excited. The first bonus episode is on, we've just recorded it and I've completely, it's on Wotakoi. Love is Hard for Otaku. There you go.
Heck yeah. Good stuff.
We got a lot out of it, actually. I'm honestly slightly shocked about how long we went for it.
I love that comic.
Yeah, we had some things to mention about it, but like, yeah, I really like that comic. Like, I still haven't watched the anime because anime is something that evades me at this point in life. But
yeah, I mean, the anime is good. It's more or less a straight adaptation.
Yeah,
like they just adapt the chapters like 1-to-1.
Yeah,
and they saved the best bit for the last episode.
Oh, good, cool.
Which was when they they're all drinking together and they ask who everyone's first waifu was.
God,
which is my favorite bit.
God, I've had stupid pub conversations like that. It never ends well. Oh,
no,
man. Okay, cool. So, as Andy's not here and it'd be cruel to move on without him, we're going to be skipping Returning Champions. I have a few series that I've been trying to catch up on. I spent a weekend with someone who was basically missioning through the entire of Promised Neverland and kept telling me, like, dropping very slight hints about it. So, yeah, thanks, Paul.
I need to read that still, too.
It's so good, dude. It's real fun. Volume 5 is a weird lull, but after that, it's off to the races. Man alive. Okay,
also,
cool.
Volume 2 of the Voynich Hotel is out, so everyone should go buy that.
Yes, definitely. I have that in my, like, wish list thing on Bookwalker. Yeah, that's it. Jeez. Cool. So, moving on to the first manga of this evening. So this was my pick, and it was the Elliot Page demand to actually use Comic Walker for once, which is a, like, Kodansha provided free comic site, but it's bad. The implementation is bad. But I picked Gundam the Origin. I picked this because I always wanted to read it. Vertical released it in 12 volumes, big, hardback, luscious volumes that I could not afford or have the space for. But Comic Walker is releasing it one chapter at a time, completely legitimately and legally online. Comic Walker, it's worth noting, as both me and Pat kind of walked straight into, used to have mobile apps for Android and iOS, but they have since been deprecated. And if you had previously downloaded them, you get a big old honking message that says, yo, no, and you have to use the web reader. But the web reader works fine in mobile browsers, except that I still had the freaking address bar constantly, so I had to shuffle it about, but whatever, small peanuts.
It's like worth noting that Gundam the Origin is like one of 2 things that still get updated on Comic Walker.
Yeah, there's a
the English Comic Walker.
Yeah, there's a hilarious release schedule, and you can see the 2 items, and it has every day listed out in a table, and it's just 2 items. It's really maddening for me because I've been keeping an eye on Comic Walker since it released, and it's like, you could do so much with this. You have all these properties and 1 chapter, and you have next chapter release date set to, quote, undecidedness. And it's like, God, it's so annoying. Especially because, like, it seems to care so little for English readers that when you go there, you generally have to force it to go to English. And the Japanese site has so much stuff. It's kind of hilarious, like, just how much stuff is there. And it's been hit with the, like, Japanese web design stick, so you can barely find anything. But Gundam the Origin is written and drawn by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, who was the original character designer for OG original Gundam.
And the animation director.
Thank you. Yes, did not know that. And the animation director. So, very, very much legit, cut from the same cloth. Like, one of the minds behind it is still present. There are some differences according to the Wikipedia page, but I'm only 1 volume in so far because that's what was mandated for this. So the main thing I'll say about the Gundam the Origin is it's right from the off it's very luscious, and it really grabs you and draws you in really quickly from, like, page 1. Like, in 4 pages, it set out the state of the universe, universal century, mankind's in space. War still carries on because people are jerks. It's better written than that, certainly, but that's basically the lowdown. As a quick note, I am somewhat of a Gundam deliant. Like, I've watched the trilogy of new original series movies. I have watched a few spin-offs, like G Gundam, Gundam Wing, Gundam Blow. I've watched half of Iron-Blooded Orphans, but I'm very much a, like, fair weather Gundam fan. I have watched the OAVs of Gundam the Origin, however, and I did get slightly confused at the start because Gundam the Origin, the OAV series, starts, like, chronologically as far back as you can go, whereas the manga Gundam the Origin starts off at the start of the original TV series in Side 7, when you are introduced to Amuro, Sailor, Bright, and Fraubo, Harrow, the green robot ball thing, and the titular Gundam RX-78, I think.
Yeah,
RX-7802. You get 01 for about 6 pages before it gets its face caved in, which is also badass.
But the OAVs more or less, or the movies or whatever you want to call them, more or less adapt volumes 5 and 6.
Oh, okay.
Like 5, 6, and maybe a little more or less 5 and 6. So it's like, because it's a huge flashback arc that happens in the middle of the manga, and that's what they adapted, because that's also the part that was it's not part of the TV show.
Yeah, it's the origin part, I suppose you could say.
Yes.
I don't know. The main thing I remember from watching I bought the 4 OAVs that are out here, and the one I remember from watching 2 of them in the cinema was, "Yo, Ranba Rao's in this. You should be excited. Thumbs up."
He's very good.
He's very good. The Golf remains the only Gunpla I've ever put together, because Ranba Rao exists. I don't know. He's a cool dude. Whatever. Sue me. But yeah, so the main thing I'll say about Gundam Origin, even as someone who knows enough to be slightly dangerous and then get picked apart by someone who knows better about Gundam, is it really jumps you in real quick. Also, so you get introduced to the characters really quickly, and it really gets you going. Amuro is, like, if it wasn't already obvious, maybe it's just because I'm reading it for the nth time, but dude is basically on the spectrum. Like, he clearly is. There's, I don't know if new type is exactly also a marker for autism or something, but man, guy clearly exists on a different plane, which, just makes him more of a fascinating character, where he's kind of hapless, but also very principled and, well, maybe just obstinate really rather than principled.
Yeah, I think obstinate's definitely the right word.
Yeah, he's just getting his panties in a twist. And Bright is also a fascinating character because he's press ganged into being the ship's captain. He is very much a product of schooling rather than actual warfare, and kind of shits his pants constantly, but then has to be a big tough hard man and kind of tries to pull it off. I don't know. I feel like without Mirai there, he'd be a complete pile on the floor. Quite frankly. Mirai being the lady who is press ganged into being the basically navigator and helmswoman. But the main thing I'll say about the manga in particular, and I know I keep saying this, but the one thing that's also very striking about it is it's all in color. The whole thing's full color, and it looks amazing. The main reason why it has this very painterly watercolor look, but every single panel has a limited palette of colors and a color range it goes between, usually like a gradient and such, or multiple colors, but only a set limit. And so it's not like every single panel is the entire spectrum of color, but this gives it a really intense look because, the look of a panel and even a page can be dictated by the colors that are used in it, how it gradiates between the different areas. Like, you'll have people who, it changes the mood of things, where you have a pilot who's trying to assess the situation and it's blues into whites. And then the next one, he's going in for an attack and it's oranges into reds, and it's like, whoa. So it really, I don't know, maybe I was kind of staring at this too much and give it too much credit, but it really helps the feeling of it. It really grabs you along.
I think okay, so a couple things. First, I want to mention that the color edition of this only exists on Comic Walker. It might be in print in Japan in color, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's not. And it's definitely not in the US. So the full color edition only exists on this website. So it's the only place you can actually experience it. I will say the color, it's the coloring in this is the same as the color pages that are in the physical edition.
Yeah.
Where it has that kind of watercolor look, and it's really limited color palettes, and it's definitely used as part of the storytelling. The color palettes change based on what's going on around them. And I think one of the best examples of it in this first volume is actually the opening pages. So the opening pages, this prologue bit, it's 6 or 7 pages, and it's more or less like a comic version of the opening narration to Mobile Suit Gundam that's in the first chunk of the show. Which basically says, mankind moved to space and they lived in space, and then war happens. And what it does that I think is great is mankind lived in space and it's got like greens and blues, and then war happens and everything is red and everything is stark, and it's all like harsh colors from that point on. And then it closes on, again, the colony drop, like in panels, which is freaking great. Because frankly, like, of everything in Mobile Suit Gundam, that opening narration for those early episodes is one of the most incredible things about it, because it sets such a tone. And this does a great job of replicating that in, 6 pages or whatever it is.
Yeah, it sets up this whole thing of like, hey, this isn't the be-all end-all. Like, this is just one story in this whole messed up war, and arguably the worst stuff already happened. Like, it even tells you straight up on page like 6. It's like, oh yeah, half of humankind has died. It's like, well, yeah. So it's a quick catch-up if people aren't really au fait with Gundam. But basically, as mentioned, it's moved into a new calendar. It's 0079 in the Universal Century calendar. Mankind has moved into space. There are now lots and lots of space colonies at various Lagrange points around the Earth. One of the colonies starts to agitate for greater representation and then finally independence. The leader of the independence movement is, depending on which format, which one you're watching, I think it changes, but he's either assassinated or just has a heart attack. And
he's assassinated.
Okay, yeah. It mentions heart attack in one Wikio page I read, but that's what got me confused. But basically, the leader of the separatist movement who is advocating for peaceful separation, is assassinated, and in it rises the Principality of Zeon, who are basically this intensely corrupt, corpulent family of very colourful assholes who have made basically bipedal weapons technology mobile suits, which they then use to basically just stamp on the remaining Earth Federation. And so it precipitates a big war both on the ground and in space. And this is where the series picks up, where the Earth Federation forces are trying to make a new mobile suit weapon to counter the current military stalemate. And the titular Gundam is like that weapon, even though it's basically just out of the factory, still in shrink wrap when you first see it. One big difference that matters between this and the original movies I watched is that Amuro doesn't just fall into the Gundam and read a manual with a big V on it. Like, he actually reads up about the Gundam, like, by hacking everything. So that's one other thing he does, is he's now like an amazing hacker. But he learned about the Gundam from that. So that actually...
because his dad was the lead engineer on the project, so he hacked his dad's files.
Yeah. Also, the single most unlikable character in, like, so far, like... I get it. Amuro's dad is very much one of those results-focused characters, but holy shit, dude, you are an unpleasant fuck. So, Jesus. He's never happy in any panel he's in. It's amazing. But then you get this military secret base called White Base. Basically, they pick up a bunch of refugees off the exploding colony where Amuro lives, and so they get press ganged into service as crew and pilots of this weapons base.
And so the important thing is this colony where they've been developing these Gundams was actually supposed to be a neutral colony.
Yeah, but both sides know that ain't true.
Yeah, so. And they've been developing these weapons here, and then a Zeon ship spots it. And discovers the weapons and then just starts wrecking shit inside the colony. Basically, the colony's collapsing. So they have to get everyone off of it.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll say definitely about this Gundam The Origin, especially coming back from watching, the previous movies and all that malarkey, but it's really wild how much time you spend with the Zeon, like, foot sloggers in their Zakus, which, as if it was not obvious already from the history of Gundam and robots, is that, man, the Zaku could not be any less of an iconic design, could it? It's ridiculous. Like, you got the eye, the breathing apparatus thing, the shoulders, the cool spiky shoulder and the shield shoulder, and just all the bits and pieces that make it look really kind of just there to get shit done. Which also makes them very satisfying to see get kind of fucked up. But yeah, you spend a lot of time with these foot sloggers who are investigating the base going, yeah, they're probably doing some bad shit here. Oh man, it found us. And, things go real south for those guys real fast. but it's really watching the actual start of the actual conflict that's shown in this. It's basically just a communications mishap that then just escalates from there, and it really kind of makes it quite human in how mundane the actual inception of all this war is, at least for the set of characters we're watching.
Yeah, they go from, it's like, because like for Amuro and his friend Frau, like they're literally going grocery shopping.
Yeah,
like Amuro's just like a weird kid that's living alone because his dad's been off building robots, and his one childhood friend is still nice enough to like help take care of him. And they're literally like, they just went grocery shopping, and then explosion happened. And they are just kind of thrust into all of this, because what happens ultimately is, like, due to all of these Zakus showing up, all the soldiers, a ton of the soldiers got killed, which is why all these teenagers and other kids are basically thrown into, well, you have to pilot the top secret, like, warship now, because we don't have anyone else to do it, because all the people that we're supposed to are dead.
Yeah, I like the way that it happens by degrees. Like, it's not like it has a 2-page spread where it goes, behold, civilians. It just happens slowly. Like, Frau Bo gets press ganged into cleaning up bandages. Amuro jumps in the Gundam because he recognizes it, and it's flat out about to be stomped on. And so he jumps in it and kind of like bumbles his way through. Bright gets press ganged into it because he's like the commanding officer on deck when something bad happens. Mirai, the navigator, gets press ganged on because she's the only person who knows how to pilot such a large ship, because she actually did work in that regard. And it's this very slow thing. Like, you get Kai, the long-faced, purple-haired kid. The frigging guy who looks like Nezumi Otoko from Kitaro or whatever. Like, he gets press ganged into another like gun tank or something, and immediately shits it up. But yeah, everyone kind of just slowly gets dragged in, and then before they know it, like, they go to a Luna 2, a sort of base, and that's supposed to be another neutral position, but there's weapons here, so I guess, oh shit, it's all gone wrong. Like, again, like, it's kind of fascinating how, you've got this very clear, cold, like, stalemate tension where it's like, hey, don't shoot us here. Oh, that's not going to fly anymore, is it? Ah, crap. So yeah, but there's a lot of cases, even flat out, like, several characters are basically sort of like either dying or watching everything fall apart in front of them, and basically spit out the coda of the entire series, which is like, man, what have we made for our children? This isn't what we wanted to do, is it? And then they either bite it or, usually just bite it. So it's kind of fascinating just to see it stated on the page like that. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what happened here. Whoops.
Yeah. And multiple characters also say, like, these people, is something along the lines of the people on this ship might, like, change the course of the war or something like that. Like, it's like these implications that there's something special about these people on the ship, even though it's just like a bunch of randos as far as anyone is concerned at this point.
I think most of it is just because they're trying to get the Gundam out somehow. But yes, it's wild. Also, the white base, real dumb looking thing. I love it when it brings out the guns and it's like these two little twiddly things on the side that can barely move. And it's like, oh, come on, guys. Really? You're going to do that? But yeah, like, solid mecha design across the board, especially the Zaku's, as mentioned. One thing I wanted to ask, actually, did you read the physical version? Yeah. So how does the coloration work in the black and white pages then? Because, I just gushed kind of at length about how nice the coloring was, but how does it work in the, like, black and white pages? Do you still get the grade, the actual breadth of color available, at least in grayscale?
Oh, I mean, like, it was originally drawn black and white.
Oh, it was colorized online. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, I don't know where this color edition actually comes from or who did it specifically, but, like, it was originally drawn black and white and then just had some color pages, like most manga.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, like, it looks incredible. Like Yaz's line work is insane. He's an actual auteur, like, type artist, like one of the actual best to ever do this stuff. And, like, the origin being his, more or less like
magnum opus.
Yeah, I guess. He's done a lot of interesting stuff, but it's definitely like the longest thing he did. And it's kind of him, expanding on, a story that's already been told, but really giving it his own kind of edge. And really, like, I think the thing the Origin does best is that it has more time to spend with the characters.
Yeah.
Because it isn't rushing as much, and I think it helps that a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the most helpful things about manga in this regard, in spending more time or more effective time with characters, is you can do the whole, when characters speak and then they have a separate line just outside the speech bubble, which is like a throwaway comment, and someone else will reply to that. So you can have multiple streams going on in the same manga panel. You can have characters in the background larking about, like poking each other. And, it all kind of blends together in that way where you can tell more in the manga panels than you would necessarily have to in, an animated sequence. Unless you're Reconquista in G, at which point you just do 500 things at once and watch Elliot's brain explode.
Yeah.
Damn that series.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fascinating, but man, I couldn't handle it. It was too much. But it was fascinating because it's like, man, everyone's talking, but then that's what happens in real life. Weird. Yeah. But no, it's you get a lot of time with just the characters, especially Bright. Like, I know I keep harping on about him, but man, you get a lot of Bright, like just, and you get his expression, like you say, the line work. You see his expression basically yo-yo in real time, like having to like continually grit his teeth and yet kind of want to slink off almost.
Yeah, and Bright's such a great character. And I love that Yaz does a lot with him because like that it's so easy to. He's supposed to be 17, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and he acts. I mean, frankly, he acts like it. He is he's like a wee babby boy. But equally, he's on this ship, and he's just like, and he has to do it. Like, if he leaves it, especially by his own standards, if he leaves it to anyone else, they're all going to friggin' die. So someone's got to step up and whip this whole thing into shape.
Yeah, he's more or less one of the only real soldiers left on the ship.
Yeah, at least one who has been trained to a certain level,
Yeah, so he's just forced to be the captain of this ship. Again, at 17, where he's more or less only done like it's kind of implied he's done like office type work. He's never seen any actual combat.
Yeah, I think some of the other people he runs into are like, paperwork boy. And like I say, someone's got to do something. It might as well be him. Like, someone's got to lead him to hell or out of. God, who knows? Either one at this point. But yeah, it was a real fun read. Like, the one thing I'll say is that the first volume is 8 chapters or so, and Man Alive is at deceptive because it's a big volume of manga because the first chapter alone is like 70, 80 pages. I mean, it makes sense because it wants to ramp you up and get you hyped for, the Gundam. So it kind of needs that space. The
English edition is omnibus, so
like, it's a big hefty hardback tome, but it's got nice paper and it fits nice. Like, I honestly did not know that the color edition came later. Like, oh man, I'm gonna have to buy this now so I can compare. Anyway,
I mean, what I'll say is in my personal opinion, the vertical edition of Gundam the Origin is the best Western physical manga release, period. I think it's just like outstanding on a ton of different levels. The hardcover, the quality of the paper, the work itself doesn't hurt either. There's also really cool extras in every volume.
Yeah, you don't get those online, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they're like interviews with different creators talking about how important Gundam is to them, and there's some fan comics. There's like a comic by the Genshiken guy in one of them, if I recall correctly. There's a thing with the Vinland Saga mangaka in one of them. I think there's an essay by so volume 1 has 3 different pieces in it. It's got one by a Japanese manga critic, or a critic named Ryusuke Hikawa. One by Shinichiro Inoue, who is the president and CEO of Kadokawa, and one by Hideki Anno.
Oh, okay, blimey, Jesus, talking about the guns. Oh,
so
dear.
that's the first volume has that in it.
Yeah, but yeah, as I was saying when you were off mic, but like I haven't bought physical manga in a while, but I think I'm with you in it being, if not but one of the finest like physical releases of a manga. The only one I could think of that might be close would be Blame, but that's more just because I really like Blame, and even that's like softback.
And like the only other one me is like there's that, and there's the Akira box set.
Oh man, I've got that on my Amazon wish list, and I keep deleting it out of my Amazon wish list in case I weaken and buy it one night. We'll see what happens there. But no, I'm really glad I chose this. I mean, it was kind of, as I say, it was an easy pick because it's on Comic Walker and I keep meaning to do it. So having a podcast as an excuse to actually read the damn thing, a good idea. I will admit the web reader on Comic Walker kind of sucks butt. Like if you minimize the tab for too long, it will basically do the equivalent of logging you out. And so if you try to move pages, it will just go, I don't know, sod it, refresh. And then you refresh and you have to re-access it from the chapter menu. And yeah, it's weird. So just be aware that the site's a bit flaky.
It's not a good website.
No, it's like I said at the start, it's basically been hit with the like Japanese web design stick. So it looks
and them flat out just giving up on it.
Well,
so why are they ever going to update it again?
It's really galling because like it's been given up on since flat out 2 weeks after it was announced and released, and it drives me nuts. It gets me really angry. Like it can be such a force for good for getting people to actually like read stuff legitimately. But anyway, so unless you had anything else you want to mention about his Patz?
Gundam the Origin's really good. You should read it.
Yeah, it's real good. I recommend it, especially for the low price of free.
For real.
But yeah, also like one thing to note about the Gundam the Origin volumes is this is maybe more of a UK thing, but I see them available more frequently in physical comic shops than I do online. Like online, availability varies wildly, but if you go into like a Forbidden Planet or Traveling Man or Waterstones, you'll generally see at least one or two of them there. And they're either at or a reasonable discount, so worth keeping an eye out for them. You kind of can't miss them because they're big and they're very, very. They're very pretty. Like that's for sure. You won't be able to miss them from the art. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're very large hardcover books, and there's 12 of them. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I read up apparently in the history, like Viz licensed it in the early 2000s, got to five thin volumes, and then went and bailed. So
I think what they did doesn't even reach like it. What they released maybe gets into volume 2 of the release.
Yeah, because they released it in like 160 page like thin books.
Yeah,
and kind of like slummed it. So, oh well.
Yeah,
nice try.
So Don't bother with tracking those down. Just buy this edition.
Yeah, you really don't. There's no
display it proudly on your shelf.
Yeah, there's no real need to worry about the old one. Okay, cool. So moving on to your pick, Patz, if you want to go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah, sure. I am talking about Get a Robo Devolution. The last 3 minutes of the universe.
Really good subtitle. Really good.
Subtitle's extremely good. So this is out from 7 Seas. Volume 1 and Volume 2 are out now, and it is going on the 6-month release schedule after that because they're very close to catching up already.
Yep.
Because it's pretty new. And it is a kind of reimagining of Get a Robo by two. Okay, so Get a Robo, which was created by Go Nagai and Ken Ishikawa. It's a manga, anime, been a ton of different anime adaptations in the past of Get a Robo stuff. This is kind of a completely new reimagining, and it's by two authors. It's Eiichi Shimizu and Tomohiro Shimoguchi, who are writer-artist team that have done a number of different things in the past, including the
was it the
Ultraman manga? The Ultraman manga that's Viz is putting out right now that is getting ready to get a anime adaptation that I believe is going to Netflix that Kenji Kamiyama and what's his name? Oh man.
Yeah, I'm blanking.
Hold on. I'll remember this in a second. Because I have to remember now. Because it's like, shit. Who the hell is it? It's gonna drive me nuts. Shinji Aramaki.
Oh God, yeah. Damn.
Yeah. So it's yeah, because it's CG. It's a CG thing, and it's going to Netflix next year. And it's a brand new adaptation of that Ultraman comic. This is so they've been running that, and then they've also got this. They also are the team that did Linebarrells of Iron, which, if you recognize the name, you might know it from a god-awful anime adaptation that Gonzo did years ago. It was really shitty, and was hugely disappointing because it kind of undermined the chances of us getting that manga, because the manga is actually really good, even though the main character is kind of a huge asshole. Hey, speaking of huge assholes, get a Robo
manga.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in this manga, I would say.
There's like one, like, actually, like, legit. I mean, people can be like arsehole or cool arsehole. There's plenty of cool arseholes. There's quite a few awful arseholes. And then there's one good character. She don't last long. And you know from the moment she appears, I'm afraid you're not making it to the end of this volume, Missy. Like, what?
It's the first. She doesn't survive the first chapter, does she?
Yeah, no. She is bisected in the first chapter. God bless her.
So Get a Robo Devolution is like I said, it's like kind of a brand new reimagining of Get a Robo, and the first volume kind of gives you more or less the stories of how the three Get a Robo pilots, Ryoma Nagare, Hayata Jin, and then Musashi Tomoe, are all recruited by Dr. Satome, who is like this crazed mad scientist doctor man who's built the Getter machines. If you don't know the deal with Get a Robo, basically there's the space like radiation called Getter rays that is like hit the Earth, and shit's happening as a result of it. I don't know how the shit happens in this one because we've only read this first volume.
So far, it seems that they are both the worst thing and possibly the best thing. I'm not sure. Everything seems real fucked up so far.
It's very fucked up. That's the other thing. It's a Go Nagai comic. It's an adaptation of a Go Nagai comic.
It's great. Like I will admit, like I came into this knowing nothing about Go Nagai, about Get a Robo. Like I know about Go Nagai in general. Like, you know, kind of hard to miss him, especially nowadays, now that his stuff's getting a new airing, which is great. But like, it's kind of Go Nagai at a really fun id sort of pace. But equally, the most I know about Get a Robo is there's three robots, they combine, maybe one of the pilots dies, or was that just GaoGaiGar 3? But the combinations make no fucking sense, and don't worry about it. If you worry about it, you're a nerd. That was basically all I knew.
That is all correct. So yeah, it basically this volume is really all set up. It's kind of setting up who all our pilots are and what Get a Robo, and that Get a Robo exists. So the first chapter is about Ryoma, and it's kind of it's orphaned kid whose parents are brutally murdered, and he finds them dead. That's how the manga starts, by the way. That's like page
3. Yeah.
It's page 2.
It is. Yep, you're right. Page 2.
Yeah. Like 1 is like an opening narration, and then page 2 is his parents, him finding his parents. And now he's, at a new school, and he's kind of a sulky, kind of downer guy who doesn't like to talk to anybody because he doesn't want to get close to anyone again because he's afraid he's going to lose them again, that kind of kid. But there's this one cute girl who's decided she wants to be his friend because she's also an orphan and just nice. And then there's obviously, I'm assuming, the asshole you're talking about. But I might be wrong because there's a lot of assholes.
Well, there's the first arsehole, and then there's just... I mean, to be fair, like, Professor Saotome is himself an arsehole, but he is the cool arsehole. So
yes,
that's fine.
So in this, once you get to the actual chapter starting, it's literally like these three kids hanging out on the other side of the classroom talking about and acting like it's a joke about how Ryoma found his parents brutally murdered, and that's why he's such a moody kid. It's like, yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah, it's pretty effective setup though. That's kind of what you need. I mean, that's all you need to get your robot pilot ready.
Yeah, more or less. And then it's like there's the one girl who is nice to him, but this one asshole has decided that he wants her, and like he literally tricks her into going, like, meeting them in the park to threaten Ryoma and more or less like threaten to rape her. They literally say, hey, she said we can have some fun with her as she's screaming, help me. It's kind of, it's kind of fucked up the way this thing starts.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's very expedient, I think, is probably the way to kind of like, I'm not really into like wish it away, but equally it's a really fast way of getting you up to speed, the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, we got a fucking robot to get to, so here's a rape threat. Like, what?
Yeah, it's like you're trying to set the mood for the kind of person Ryoma is. Like, because he develops like feeling on some level for this girl because she was someone who actually chose to be nice to him. And the way it gets to the good shit is so brilliant in this first chapter. Because ultimately, like, yeah, he saves her, and then, okay, so it's the next day at school, and she's like, oh, thank you. And she goes to, like, get a lunchbox that she made for him. And what it does, I love. So it's like it's a 2-page spread, and it's just the classroom, and it's her smiling, handing it to him. And then you turn the page, and it's another 2-page spread, and it's like the entire classroom being destroyed and rubble going everywhere. And you see her basically being, bisected. And it's just one after the other. And you just see the impact of now there's a giant monster, alien monster outside the school.
Yeah. I'm normally one who would, at this point, carp and say, oh, man, why would you do that? But equally, it's like, yeah, at least they got it out of the way quickly. Like, it's not like they spent 6 pages agonizing. Oh, no, like, cute girl-chan. I forgot your name already. Shit.
Starts with an M.
I'm just this entire manga volume, like, moves, which is exactly what I feel it needs to do to get on with it. Like, you know, chapter 1, pilot 1, chapter 2, pilot 2, chapter 3. If anything, fucking chapter 2 with Jin is even more fucked up for how it treats his friends. Like, one of them just gets popped in the head.
Yeah, because so the first chapter kind of runs through that, and that's when we're finally introduced to Saotome. Who is this crazy doctor man, or crazy scientist man, who's like, he starts spouting off all this stuff about, like, taking power and, like, taking what's yours, that kind of thing, instead of letting people take from him. And then Get a Robo shows up.
Yep, and that's the end of the chapter, because what else do you need to happen? Yeah, I love Saotome because, like, single most chiseled looking guy, like, possibly ever. Like, every single panel of him involves at least 3 different kinds of shadow, and looking intensely maniacal, and having, like, his claw grip appearing in mid panel. Like, I just love the way that it presents him. And it's like, yeah, this guy, like, he even at one point muses, like, I'm probably not really that human anymore because I've witnessed way too much death and I'm a bit fucked in the head. But no worries. And it's really cool having the, like, mad professor who's like, yeah, I ain't got time for quandaries anymore. Like, I just built a fucking robot, man. Like, get in the damn thing.
Yeah, so it's... And then, yes, so the next 2 chapters introduce us to our other 2 protagonists, or pilots. Jin, who is, like in every other Get a Robo, an extreme sociopath kind of guy who's obsessed with power himself, who's literally, like, just manipulating stock markets, like, because that's what he's doing to make money.
Yeah, the stock market deserved it, frankly.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, yeah, F those guys. But then, yeah, his friends just get offed because they're there when Saotome shows up.
Yeah.
And Saotome's like, hey.
Yeah, that is legit the one thing in this that I can't quite grok with is his friends getting offed. Like, I get it. Secret government project, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, they were just mooks. You know, they were fine.
I mean, I will also say, like, I think there is a little bit of Saotome let that school get wrecked.
Oh, totally. Like
for the sake of, pushing Ryoma along a little bit.
Yeah, like he even says, like, oh, if he dies here, that'll probably be the best thing that will happen to him. But he don't. And then it's like, well, hey there, want a robot?
Yeah.
Hey kid.
You want to pilot my really cool robot?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about this is, as it's maybe also because it is going through a new lens of these new authors, but GaoGaiGar, like, you got to operate by his rules in some regard, which will let you enjoy it to the most. It's like there's no need to worry over much about it. Like, he's going to show you a cool robot thing, and that robot thing is going to take you on a magical journey through hell and earth and beyond, and just you kind of have to just kind of lean back a bit for it.
Yeah, he's kind of there's a bit of like you roll with GaoGaiGar. You roll with. I do want to mention Ken Ishikawa, who's heavily like Robo is very much his thing. And it's like you just have to play with it by its rules, and if you do that, it tends to be a lot of fun. I do want to say, like, the art for this version, like the art in this one is great. If you've seen what the Ultraman comic looks like, it has very similar style. The mechanical designs are all in that very like hyper stylized, a lot of panel lining kind of look that they like.
It looks great. Like it looks really imposing, like, and really primal in a way, if that makes sense. Like, it's just like, you can get a page full spread of Get a Robo, and it's like, damn, like I'm glad that thing's on our side. I know that's the most cliche thing to say, but it has like sweet ass, like almost like Metroid Varia suit shoulder ball things, which I don't know, I think look real cool.
No, I'm really into that part of the new design because it's way cool. It's unique and they're really cool looking.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say definitely about all the art in particular, like I have a complaint with the art, which I'll get to overall, but I like the characters. Like at one point you can pick out any of the Getter pilots because mofos haven't slept in like 600 years. Like they have so many eyes underneath they have so many lines underneath their eyes. Like none of them have slept in forever. And, I think it's just one of these things where it's like, oh, they have the burden of power, even if they're not yet doing the robot thing. Like they're clearly marked by this because they can't fucking sleep. Same thing with Saotome. Dude has never slept in 400 years. But everyone has these really amazing, like, line work in their faces, especially in their expressions. One thing I'll say, like, one neutral thing and one thing that I didn't really like about the art in general, which is more a stylistic thing. But the first thing is that, like, camera is never straight. Like, it's always Dutch angled or, like, from a strange angle or from below or somewhere. It does make it more dynamic and more interesting. It just means that you get, it whips through different camera views an awful lot, which, keeps it dynamic, and you kind of need to, so you can actually get the whole of the robot and the whole of the scenery because series works on a grand scale. The only thing I didn't like is that in almost every single panel, I feel like it's like a camera zoomed in just a smidge too much. Like it's like 80% of the image and it's missing the extra around the edge. Like everything's just a bit too close. Like even at the end, there's a big reveal about an important plot MacGuffin, and it cuts off what I would see as being the edges of the image, and it's just a bit too close. And this happens quite a lot with like the robots and the fighting, and quite a few images where it's just, I know I keep saying it, but it is a smidge too close, and you can't quite get part of this is obviously a means to make everything imposing and leer over you, but I just can't quite get the whole enormity of the scene and the scope and the scale of what's going on, which is huge, like honking great building sized robot, etc., etc. But I just wish the camera was two steps back, like that. Maybe that's just me.
No, I can see what you're saying. It does have a very like very close camera, or like they use a lot of very small panels at times. Where they're very up close and right against whatever is going on. So I can see where that could be frustrating at times, especially with the robot. Because there are bits in there with the robot where it's like you don't get a lot of very clear shots of it in this volume. Seeing, what it really looks like. Because I can see that, like, where that could get a little frustrating, even if, like, the design work is really good.
Yeah, it's just one of these things where it's just, just a little bit more space around the edges to quite just see a bit of daylight would be really nice. But to be fair, it kind of happens more with the first like alien that shows up to fuck things up, because like it takes like it's only until the end of the volume, and this might again maybe a stylistic choice, but it's hard to get a proper read on how big and its extent. And then towards the end, it's like, okay, here's a big full panel shot of it, boosh, and it's like, okay, that's the big alien. Christ, it's big. So but that's my main that's my main thing about this series. Also, like, this is physical only. It's kind of released by 7 Seas, and it doesn't sound real mean, but it feels like one of their cheaper sort of efforts. Like, it's like a very thin book. It's straight onto the content, not barely even a colophon. Like, it has like a few pages of extras at the end with some nice, cool, like clean robot designs. But I've been spoiled. I know it. I've been spoiled by using tablets and digital files and such, and big, nice, shiny editions. But I just wish it was slightly bigger, like in terms of page size as well. Like, again, and maybe I've been spoiled, but it feels like, especially for something as big as Get a Robo, it'd be nice if it was bigger and you could appreciate it on a larger screen. But again,
I do think, like, because I feel like none of their Dynamic Pro stuff has had digital releases, right?
I don't
None of their
think so.
GaoGaiGar stuff. So that must just be a very like.
No, you're
it
right.
Must just be a licensing issue.
Yeah, because both Cutie Honey and the Devilman versions don't have digital, but the Harlock Classic release does. So that's the difference that exists there. Yeah, because I've asked them for it online before now, and they've gone, sorry, not available. And it's like, well, we're there. Like, actually, I really want to buy that Cutie Honey edition, but I don't have space for a hardback.
Yeah.
So.
But I will say this, of the revivals that they have licensed, because they've got like that Cutie Honey, whatever the heck. And then they've done a couple Devilmans.
Yeah. I see Devilman, was it Devilman G? I've seen that both physically and digitally, I believe.
Oh, really?
I think it's either that or Devilman Hades. I forget. Suddenly we have a complete and utter embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. Now I gotta look.
No.
So they've been doing a lot of they got a lot of these revivals as part of their licensing deals, and that's cool. I will say, in my opinion, of the ones they've licensed, this is the best of them. And I think it's because it's very much we're going to let you play in this sandbox and kind of create your own thing with it.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's the kind of people that should be doing a Get a Robo.
Yeah, I feel like Get a Robo in particular, like, even though as one who's not been the most au fait with it, I feel like Get a Robo in particular is one where you can just let the chains off and let people go full ham.
Yeah.
Because you've had things like before, like Shin Get a Robo, and all the other Get a Robo like spin-offs or sequels almost are just crazy go nuts. Like,
yeah, and they're not worried about canon in any way.
Yeah, the main thing is like, oh, this robot's pretty sweet. Oh man, we just blew up 3 universes, I guess. Like, whatever. So yeah, it just goes crazy.
So in conclusion, what I need everyone to do is buy this and then bug 7 Seas to license Shin Mazinger Zero.
Oh man, jeez,
that's actually the best of the revivals that they've done recently. That's the one by the team that did Ninja Slayer, so it's good. I was in the store a few weeks ago, and they had all of the Ninja Slayer volumes on offer, and I picked them up. And I nearly did, but I've got them digitally already. Well, that's good. At least you have them.
I've done that already. Yeah, although I just had a big moan, I do like this. One thing I will say is, because the length is indeterminate, I'm a little bit skittish of continuing. Because initially, when you recommended this to me, I'm like, oh, there's only 3 volumes. Sweet. It's going to be a 3-volume and done thing. That's going to be real fast and nutty. Right. And now it's like, oh, it's ongoing. Shit.
Yeah, no, it's ongoing. There's 4 volumes out in Japan.
Yeah.
3 is up for pre-order.
Yeah, it comes out next year. Yeah, it's on stores, but it's not out till February, I think.
Is it Feb? I feel like it's further out than that. It's March.
Ugh. Okay,
so it's September and then March. So like the last volume 2 came out in September. So it's on like a 6-month release schedule now.
Yeah.
Because they more or less caught up. They're catching up with Japan.
Yeah.
It runs in one of the finest magazines, Shonen Champion.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's moving kind of slow. There's only 4 volumes out there, and I'm excited, but yes, I'm be willing to bet this runs for 10 plus volumes.
Yeah. I think I'll get onto bugging 7Cs for digital version.
Keep bugging them. I wouldn't count on it, but keep bugging them.
Yeah, I'll continue to try and be polite to them again. Oh dear. But no, I did enjoy this. It was a fun romp, especially like, as I say, knowing nothing about Get a Robo.
I don't think I think if you know Get a Robo's the robot that combines, like that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Because it tells you everything you really need to know about this particular version. And it's like, there's things that if you know a little bit about Get a Robo, you'll recognize some terminology and blah, blah, blah. But there's not a lot of there's not stuff that's like, man, if you've watched everything Get a Robo, you're going to get this. But if you haven't, you're not. It's completely accessible, I think.
Oh no, it really is. And that's one thing I appreciate about it is just like, yeah, here we go. Like, especially because it's so, it hits the ground running real fast, as if it wasn't obvious already. But yeah, it hits the ground running real fast. It gets you going. And then, like I say, by chapter 4, it's like, okay, time for a chapter long punch up with this freaky alien thing. So yeah, really, real good stuff. Good robot punchy. Yeah,
very good robot punchy.
On that note, have you read the Ultraman manga by Eiichi Shimizu and Tomohiro Sumigochi?
I've read a little bit of it. I need to catch up on it. I'm really behind. It's good though.
Yeah, I'm about to say I've seen some really positive whispers about it. So the fact it's getting anime is pretty good, especially if it's getting that Netflix money. Which, as I've heard from producers who visited film festivals recently, they're like, yeah, they'll just chuck money at you. It's wild. We don't quite know what to do with it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It is very good. Definitely recommend picking that one up too. It's a good superhero comic, more or less. Yeah, especially Ultraman having even less. I feel like it has even less like exposure over here, especially in the UK. Like, what's Ultraman? So, yeah, I was really honestly surprised that Viz even got that when they did, because they've been putting it out for a couple of years now. So, like that coming out is kind of weird, but it's really good and worth picking up. The art, again, very good, very similar to this. A little less violent than this, but yeah, still really good and still worth reading. I need to catch up on it. Yeah, and Linebarrells of Iron is great. It'll never get licensed, but Linebarrel of Irons is great.
Curse you, anime! Curse you, Gonzo!
Yeah, it's all Gonzo's fault. It's got really cool looking robots.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember from that thing, from the preview art and such. It's like, man, that looks cool. Gonzo.
Yeah, it's got really cool looking robots. The main character is a sociopath. So yeah, check that one out.
What more do you need? But yeah, I'm talking about Gonzo. I was at a film festival last weekend and they had a Gonzo movie. Yeah, shit was crap. It was kind of wild because it was like Gonzo of like the early 2000s just resurrected and made another anime, like just how they used to. It was just kind of wild. It's like, oh, you made another one. Could you not have? Like, maybe you shouldn't have.
Yeah, probably not.
God, do not watch Calamity of a Zombie Girl, for goodness sake. What a waste of time. Ugh, not even good as a hate watch. Anyway, so, unless you got anything else, that's that, I think.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, good robot talk. Good robot talk. I have to harass Andy with more of them. So for next episode, it will be Andy again. Now we're going to free him from work commitments. Our next podcast is going to be a live recording, so cross your fingers the technical stuff works. Going to be live at Hibanacon 2018 in Milton Keynes. Blech. Land of roundabouts and underpasses and reasonably priced chain restaurants. And a honking great Sainsbury's. But we're going to be on Friday at 4 p.m. in, I think, panel room 3. There will be gifts and a giveaway there. So if you fancy turning up, you can get a free load of stuff as I'm chucking things out again. For that, I will be reading, I have nominated we read Inside Mary Volume 1, which is available on Crunchyroll manga still, even though Firefox now blocks that website and blocks Crunchyroll manga entirely because they're still using a Flash player. God damn. And Andy has nominated the first volume of Until Your Bones Rot, which at the time of recording and should still be available after this goes out, is currently in a Humble Bundle, both volume 1 and 2, and a bunch of other horror manga volumes 1s and 2s. It's on Humble Bundle for like $18. You can get like 12 volumes of manga and a bunch of other took.
And don't forget the physical of Inside Mari from Denpa comes out in like a month.
Yes, new entrant Denpa manga, who I actually need to message to go, hey, do you fancy giving us access to stuff? But that's a separate conversation to have. Oh dear. I still haven't seen them put a picture of their office cat in the manga announcement picture, so I don't think they're a real publisher yet, frankly. They got to put the office cat in there. But yeah, Inside
they did re-edit Mari. I'll just say that.
Okay, yeah, I haven't touched it yet at all. But yeah, as a quick note, Inside Mari is notable because it's by the creator of Flowers of Evil, also Happiness, which is another manga that I mean to do on this show, if only to gush about it again. Like, I've done it at least twice already on a previous podcast.
If you're feeling like being sad,
yeah,
this guy's got you hooked up.
Hey man, Happiness is... No, you're right. That does make it pretty sad as well. It's like, oh man, this is fucked. This sucks. Oh man. But yeah, like, God, complete side note and last digression, but I made a graph of volume number versus oh fuck for Flowers of Evil that I used at a convention panel. It went down pretty well. Like, it went down about as well as a graph at an anime convention can.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly because it's like, oh, it's a bit messed up here, and then whoa dear, off you go. So yeah, man, good manga. Yeah. Also, that's coming out in 3-in-1s from like Vertical now, which is well worth your time if you want the physical version, because it's cheaper and bigger and looks real nice. But yeah, there's nothing really to mention. We've already mentioned about Voynich Hotel Volume 2 coming out, so get on that if you fancy and you liked our previous episode about it.
Yeah, get on that.
Yeah, defo. Plus, it's again, that one's only a 3-volume banger, so you can get in and out and be done.
Yeah,
yeah.
You should. So, yeah. It's really good.
It is. No, we should catch. I should grab that and get Andy to read it as well. Cool. So moving on into Closedown, our website is at Screentone.club. You can find the episodes there, links to the various RSS feeds and website and podcatcher links. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. I think we're on Podbay. I'm pretty sure I submitted that application and they sent me a nice email. If you like the podcast, thank you. Tell a friend. It's probably the easiest way of getting it announced. If you really do like it, consider the Patreon, maybe, if you fancy it. You can get access to members-only episodes, and also you can vote on stuff that we have to read, which has so far actually been far too polite. I was expecting people to like make us read stuff we were kind of against, but so far everyone's been really nice. So thank you. Please don't take this. Please do not take this as your license to make us read more light novels. For the love of God.
They really want to read the first volume of Rising of the Shield here.
Oh,
so
God.
Everyone submit that.
Please no, please, Patz. Why you got to do with me like this?
I got to, because it's
hey,
funny.
Man, we read the first volume of friggin' Elf Bride. That's enough.
I know. I listened to it. That was extremely amusing.
Oh God! One of my friends was like, "Oh, volume 2 is out," and I'm like, "Get away from me! Get away!"
You better pick it up.
Maybe if I want to put a nail through my foot. Our Twitter feed is at Screentone Club, and you can also email us to podcast@screentone.club. Finally, as a final thing, my personal plug, I finally have Manga Search working again. That's manga, SEAR.ch. You put a dot before the CH. It's working. The US version is not working yet. I'm working on it. So yeah, you can use that to find out where manga is available digitally, legally, either for free or for pay. I have a big update to that coming once I can not be terrible at CSS. Which I think is impossible, but at least it is for me. But anyway, sorry about that. Patz, you want to go ahead and plug?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, you can follow my podcast, The Cockpit, where I talk a lot more about robots at Cockpit Pod on Twitter, and then it's thecockpit.net is the website. It's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, and probably other places too. I'm on Twitter at Patz Prime. If you want to follow me, where I largely tweet about manga and anime stuff, I guess. I don't know.
That sounds about right. That hangs. Yeah.
Yeah. And stay tuned for more manga stuff, because I've got stuff in the works.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. So, Thank you very much, Patz, for jumping into the breach.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's been wonderful. It's nice to talk about the robots, especially with someone who knows what they're talking about. I'm barely there. Oh man, I did not even know about that new GaoGaiGar thing. Anyway, I'm just dragging the episode out now. So thank you everyone for listening, and good night.
Good night.